Good afternoon. Today is the 31st of December. This is the last video on the channel for 2019, and I thought I'd do something a bit different today. I'm going to tell you a story. So as a lot of us are at this time of year, with log fires and plenty of festive treats, we're in the mood for something a bit more relaxing, and so let's delve into the Lloyd Vehicle Consulting archive and let's talk about possibly the worst two cars that I have not driven and driven respectively. I'll explain a bit more about what that means as we go on. So back in September 2017, so a good while ago now, I had a brief from a couple of clients to find some cars for less than £1,000. It's something I do quite a lot. I happened to find a couple, both reasonably local to where we were living at the time. So this isn't in Hampshire, this is where we were living previously. So I won't tell you exactly where these things took place. The first car that I saw was suitable for one client, and the second one was suitable for the other. And actually, we ended up getting both of those cars for two respective people. We really could have swapped them over effectively, but there were different models of car. One was more suitable for the other for the two respective people, so that was fine. What I don't like to do though is just to see one car for somebody. I don't like to do that. I don't think that's good practice really, so I went to see something else, and I found on the internet a Seat Ibiza. It was the second generation of Ibiza, but the second facelift of those, so around about 2001 or thereabouts. It was on sale at a place not too far away, and the price didn't look too high above what the budget for either of these people was. So I rang up the independent garage that it was advertised at, and I asked questions about the service history and MOT, things like that, whether things worked. I was told that the radio didn't work properly, but apart from that, the thing was fine. So I got on my way and got down to see it. What I'm about to relate to you next gives really quite a lot of sort of weight to the theory that you should never ever buy a car really, unless you're a bit silly, unless you've actually checked the thing over before you hand over the money or send somebody else to do it for you. The car was an absolute disappointment. The car wasn't running properly. There was definitely smoke coming out of the exhaust when I turned it on. One of the doors didn't shut properly. There was lots of moss growing on it. The driver's seat collapsed when I endeavoured to adjust it. And I was a little bit lighter in those days, so it's not to do with that. Yes, it just sometimes you get a bad feeling about something when you're looking at a car, and this was setting off all the wrong signals. I'm familiar with these Ibizas. It's basically a Mark III Polo. I had a Mark III Polo as my first car. I've saw Seats before. I think I had this Seat at the time, so I'm not saying Seat's a bad car. So this one was just really disappointing. I checked the oil. The oil was right, kind of at the bottom of the dipstick. The coolant was really low. I was offered to take it for a test drive, and I think in one of the only times I've ever actually done this, I just gave the keys back to the seller and I got out of there as quickly as I could. Broken driver's seat and everything, and I didn't ever contact anybody again. And praise the Lord, we had already seen two cars suitable for both the clients. One was a Hyundai, and then the other was another Seat Leon, and so we got those, and we left that one far behind. But yes, please check over the car before you part with any cash. Please don't just try asking some questions. This was bad. So that was a car I didn't drive. It was the worst one I've actually seen in my professional career. Let's go on now to the one I did drive. So this was another job of a similar type. This was actually earlier this year. Client wanted a car for under £1,000 to replace an old Astra that he had. He didn't mind doing a bit of work to it himself. He's quite mechanically minded. And we looked at 3 cars. This is actually the reverse of the last situation. This was the first one we saw, just up the road from where he lived. It looked fine. I think it was a 1999 Honda Civic. Nothing wrong with Honda Civics if they're well maintained, just like anything else. This was similar to the Rover 400. It was that shape of Civic. I think it was only a 1.4 or something, nothing too exciting. And I think it was up for around £600 or so. So the mileage looked reasonable, number of owners looked fine. The photographs weren't the best photographs I've seen, but the car didn't look too bad. I rang up the number on the advert, which I think was eBay or Auto Trader, I can't remember. It wasn't Gumtree or anything, so we were off to a better start than Gumtree, or so I thought. And then the seller said, yeah, you know, paperwork's all there. It might need a bit of a clean, but it's okay other than that. So we came over, realised the car wasn't being sold by the person I'd spoken to. It was his father. His father really didn't have an idea that we were coming or anything like that, which wasn't the best. The car was parked quite awkwardly to get out, and it was just full of stuff. It was being used as some kind of store. The back seats were virtually unusable. We managed to get in there, but the car was just, you know, engine had a little bit of oil on it. The car hadn't been serviced for I don't know how long. It was obvious why the chap's father was selling it, because he was barely using it. But the worst presented car I think I've ever seen in doing this for some time. Just stuff everywhere. I think one of the locks didn't work or something. The car drove actually okay, but it was just you know, the suspension was a bit tired, and you know, the brakes were a bit rusty. And just because of the way the car was presented and the way that someone clearly just didn't care, I mean, underneath that car was probably a good £500 car for someone, maybe like a Santa Pod type car, a temporary car, but because of all the sort of filth and the paperwork wasn't properly organised, we just moved on and bought something else. And that's the thing about if you're selling a car, the presentation of it, and you know, the kind of attitude you have towards it, it's very key when you're trying to sell something, anything. If you clearly just don't care and you're not prepared for someone to come and look at it, don't advertise it. It's as simple as that. Just wait till you're ready. You know, a little bit of a clean, and you know, you're just getting the paperwork in order. There's nothing major. I mean, you know, he could have had the car have your oil change or something if he really wanted to, but some people just take it as and they'll do that themselves. So yes, there's 2 little New Year's Eve stories for you. One, the worst car that I didn't drive in my professional career, and the worst car that I did drive. Both of them, you know, not so good for slightly different reasons. So I hope you found that video to be informative. Please don't forget to subscribe to the channel if you haven't already done so. We've got more videos on the way that I'll be recording this week. Hopefully you will find those good as well. Please don't forget to visit my website at www.lloydvehicleconsulting.co.uk if you wish me to source a car for you, anybody that you know. I'd love to do that. There's a contact tab on the front page, website to get in touch with me directly. I also got a Facebook page, it's facebook.com/Lloyd Vehicle Consulting. Thank you ever so much indeed for watching.